not only plan to do, but is resolute in achieving. The first is the restoration of reinforcement of democracy. The second is the strengthening of our institutions, which are the backbone of any successful nation. A strong, resilient institution capable of fulfilling their mandates will propel both our economy and our country forward. Sir Deputy Speaker, sir, if we achieve these reforms, I can only confidently state that we will have fulfilled an important component of our mandate. Yet, this economy will be revamped, reinvigorated, developed, and modernized. I'm optimistic that by the end of our term, the people of Mauritius will look back with pride at the transformative change they initiated on the 10th November 2024. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, allow me to address the sector now under my responsibility, youth and sports. Before dealing with the issues concerned, I would like to share a few words about my personal journey. In 1982, I joined the MMM, climbing the party hierarchy through dedication and perseverance. I followed in the footsteps of my elders, working with them when I was only 16 years old, initially in Constituency number 20 and 8. Over the years, I served as municipal councillor, later as mayor, and headed the Youth and Sport Commission at the Bobassa-Rosil Municipal Council. I was eventually elected to the National Assembly, became Private Parliament Secretary, and finally was appointed Minister in this government. This is my fourth mandate. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I must admit that when the Prime Minister trusted me with the youth and sport portfolio, I was initially caught off guard. It is well documented that I had prepared myself for a different role. However, I am humble and extremely grateful by his trust in me as leader of l'Alliance du Changement, and by the trust of my leader, the Deputy Prime Minister. This trust fueled my motivation. Youth and sport extends far beyond merely kicking footballs or presenting medals for the cameras and official events. It quickly became clear to me just how vital this ministry is and the immense responsibility that comes with leading it. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as the saying goes, action speaks louder than words. In just some 100 days, the House and the honourable members would have seen the positive impact my appointment has had on the youth and sport landscape. Whether I possess the career or not, or whether history will remember me as merely a good Manchester United fan, only time will tell. However, let me reassure this House, what you have witnessed so far is just a trailer. The full feature is yet to come. Nevertheless, my appointment to this portfolio has evidently sparked considerable debate. Let me take this opportunity to set the record straight. From a young age, I've been dedicated, advocate, and militant. Never allowed my action to be guided by communal considerations. My long-standing involvement in the MMM is a testament to this unwavering commitment. Having risen through the ranks, I'm now among the party's most senior members. The trust placed in me by the Honourable Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister is a profound honour, reflecting their confidence in my dedication and principle. If others feel aggrieved by this decision, that is beyond my control. Our mission is clear: to build a brighter, more sustainable future for our youth, to ensure that the power of sport is harnessed for positive development, and to shape policies that align with global commitments such as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would like to address the House on what I consider to be a national emergency drug addiction among our youth population. However, allow me here to quote from an important and revered religion book. I quote, "It is compassion, the most gracious of virtues, which move the world," unquote. In other words, we must extend compassion to all our fellow citizens who have fallen into the grip of drug addiction, which is imperative to combat drug trafficking and dismantle the networks of drug barons. It is equally crucial to support those battling addiction and help them integrate into society. My ministry is fully committed to playing a pivotal role in addressing the drug addiction crisis. I'm profoundly moved and deeply troubled when I come across alarming video clips on social media that depict the heartbreaking reality faced by some of our young people. These images serve as a cruel reminder of the deep pain their family endure watching their loved ones struggle in such desperate conditions. It is a crisis that demands urgent and collective action. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I firmly believe that the so-called marchands de la mort are perpetuating what can only be described as a genocide, a mass killing fueled by greed. If we fail to act decisively, we risk betraying the trust of those who elected us. There are limits to what parents can do on their own. This is where institutions, authorities, and the government must step in. Together, we must shoulder the responsibilities that parents cannot be alone. Without this collective effort, we fail as leaders. For this reason, I congratulate the Prime Minister for the setting up of a select committee which will propose new legislations and the National Agency for Drug Policy and Coordination, and the responsibility of former Minister Sam Lawton, who in this particular case is a judicious and appropriate choice. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, many still hold cherished memories of Suivez Intercollege, a time when stadium came alive with the energy, passion, and enthusiasm of students and teachers alike. These games were more than just a sporting competition. They serve as a platform for discovering young talent, fostering camaraderie, and instilling a deep sense of pride and belonging among our youth. I'm pleased to announce that plans are already in motion to revive le Jeu Intercollège, bringing back this treasured tradition to inspire and empower the next generation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, Mauritius currently ranked 179th out of 210 on FIFA World Ranking, a position that reflects the challenges of our football as faced in recent years. This is a far cry from the glorious days when Mauritian football was a regional powerhouse. Many will remember the pride we felt in 1974 when our national team competed in the Africa Cup of Nations in Egypt. I firmly believe that we can reclaim that pride and even go beyond our past achievement. The passion and determination to revive Mauritian football are palpable, and we are committed to taking the necessary steps to make this a reality. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, late François Mitterrand outstanding president of the French Republic, once said, les jeunes sont des flambeaux. Ils ne s'allument pas tout seuls, mais ils peuvent éclairer le monde. This being said, it is our duty as government to actively explore new and innovative youth programs aimed to integrating meaningful extracurricular activities into the education system. These initiatives are designed to protect our young people from societal evils and equip them with essential life skills. One such initiative is the Duke of Edinburgh International Award Scheme. We believe that making this program a compulsory part of extracurricular activities can significantly empower our youth, building their resilience and arming them against the threat posed by drug predators. This program fosters personal growth, teamwork, and leadership, which are invaluable in shaping a strong, responsibility citizen. I will soon engage with my colleague, the Minister of Education, and those tasked with the difficult and challenging responsibilities of fighting the drug problem, to explore ways and means of integrating the program in the extracurricular activities of students. Furthermore, I'm pleased to announce 2 new projects for youth, for young Mauritians. They are the most outstanding Young Mauritian of the Year award, excluding sports. And second, the Young Mauritian Best Business or Social Project Awards. More detail will be communicated shortly on these 2 awards. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in the field of sport, we are committed to transforming Mauritius into a true sport nation. The vision entails revigorating the sector which had previously been stagnant, characterized by a lack of strategic direction, and efforts solely aimed at satisfying personal interests. The sport community was neglected and no real progress was made. We are working on a new sport act, one that meets international norms and helps propel our nation onto the global sporting stage. This legislation will ensure fairness, transparency, and opportunities for growth in all sectors of sport, ensuring that all youth, regardless of their background, can pursue a career in sport and excellence. Mr. Deputy Speaker, let me also affirm our commitment to the principle of democracy in Mauritius, a nation that has long upheld the rights in its people. Allow me to quote the great Jawaharlal Nehru, who once said, and I quote, "Real leaders must be ready to sacrifice all for the freedom of their people," unquote. It is an immense honor and privilege to serve in a cabinet led by the 2 exceptional figures of Mauritian politics, the Prime Minister, Honorable Navin Ramgoolam, and the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Paul Béranger. Their leadership, vision, and commitment to the nation have shaped the course of our country's history. To be part of this team is not just a responsibility, but a profound source of pride. I'm equally proud to have stood alongside Paul Béranger for many years as his colistier. His trust in me has been a humbling and inspiring gift. For over 5 decades, Paul Béranger has been a central figure in Mauritian politics, always advocating for justice, democracy, and equality. A historian will recall that this patriot, this true Mauritian, has spared no effort to inspire a new social and political vision for our country, and contributing at the risk of his liberty, at the risk of his life itself, to make this dream come true. To now serve alongside him in cabinet is a dream come true, a culmination of years of shared struggle and dedication. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, allow me to quote Nelson Mandela, the one who brought freedom to his country, South Africa, after 27 years in prison. He said, and I quote, "A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, find utterance." End quote. Permettez-moi de conclure, Monsieur le Vice-président, en affirmant que notre pays se trouve à la croisée des chemins. Notre gouvernement a tous les atouts en main pour transformer notre pays, pour faire de Maurice un pays où il fait bon vivre. Je voudrais ici rendre hommage au Premier ministre, l'honorable Navin Ramgoolam. Pendant 10 ans, cette Assemblée a été témoin des calomnies, des mensonges, des coups bas dirigés contre lui. Mais la force de sa conviction a tenu bon. Il s'est prouvé le digne successeur des grands leaders et tribuns travaillistes que furent Maurice Curé, Pandit Saoudev, Emmanuel Anxil, Guy Rosemont, Rengananen Silvasen et Serge Sagor Ramgoolam. Il retrouve aujourd'hui sa place à la tête du gouvernement, sous son leadership et celui du DPM Paul Béranger. Nous avons tous les moyens pour réussir le changement fondamental que le peuple attend de nous. Comme mes collègues ministres et amis parlementaires ici présents, je m'engage à pratiquer l'humilité, l'honnêteté et la fidélité à nos engagements. Our motto is, we cannot fail, we shall not fail. Thank you.
Honorable Babaji.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I am proud and honored to make my first speech here today in this assembly, in this August assembly. I need to thank my family, and especially my mother, who has been also my father. I need to thank all the friends here, the elders here who have supported me. I need to thank my wife, who has given plenty support during my campaign. And I need to tell this House that campaigning in number 14 was not easy for me. I had to challenge a senior minister who had made that constituency his second home for the last 42 years. But I need to thank those experienced and elders here, especially the Honorable Rajesh Bhagwan, who was giving me support, showed me how to tackle that monster over there, and finally we did it. He was even surprised when he was beaten with that score. I owe my respect to both leaders here in this House, especially the Prime Minister, who is the historical technician of this alliance. He paved the way to this alliance. He paved the way until here in this House. And I need to say that 6 months before the election, no one would believe we are winning such a score. I still remember, before he leaves, my friend, the Honorable Shakil Mohammed, when on the last meeting we had in Port Louis, he appealed by singing the national anthem, saying, "As one people, as one nation, let's vote for the change." And actually, that's what happened. The population did their part. As one people, as one nation, they voted for a complete change with 60-0. And now it's our turn to deliver the second part, which is we need to make sure that they live in peace, justice, and liberty. And this already started. We can see the first thing the Prime Minister did when they changed, and we need to thank the Honorable Gavin Glover, who did a great job by amending the law of the FCC. We need to also thank him when he restarted the negotiation for the shaggers. And 90% of the population are seeing the great job we are doing, but 10% are complaining, still complaining, nothing is being done. Complaining about vendetta, political vendetta, but the job is being done and will continue. Let me tell you that the first thing when this government took place here, they published the statement of the state of the economy. And this revealed the population about the true figures and the true situation of our economy. Despite all the lies, all the false figures being published by the old regime, 1 foot of our economy was already in a falaise, and the second foot was hanging and might fall at any time. If that government was still here, I don't know what would have happened to this economy. There has been a decline and deteriorations in all sectors of the economy, especially the mismanagement of that government, which led to increase in the inflation. We had all the economics indicators in red, and luckily, change came at the right time. After seeing all this, the government came with the program 2025-2029, and on the 24th January, when the president read the program and published it, he named it a bridge to the future. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will say that this is the vision of this government, and to govern is to predict. And that's what we saw in the program 2025 to 2029. And if you look at those visions, we can see that it's not impossible, but it needs competent people at the right place. And we have the right people at the right place. And if we look at what took place during the last 10 years, how those who were here before handled the files, were leading this country to, how we call it, the precipice. But now, with this new government, all these negative indicators, I'm sure, will turn to positive ones. Long time ago, explorers, our visitors, those who visited Mauritius for the first time, named Mauritius as the key and the star of the Indian Ocean. This was called because Mauritius geographically was in the center of the Indian Ocean, and they used it as a platform for refueling, for rest, everything. But last 10 years, we could see Mauritius being used as the platform where drugs were coming. They were transiting drugs. We even got drugs in Mauritius, but not belonging to Mauritius, and were supposed to be delivered to other countries. I'm sure with Honorable Dr. Ovin Bulel at the head of the Ministry of Fisheries, with our exclusive economic zone, with his experience in politics, I'm sure he will exploit this industry. And not many countries got that big area of exclusive economic zone. And my vision is, if in 5 years we can create this sector as our main sector, why not in 5 years people call Mauritius as the pearl and the diamond of the Indian Ocean? Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will congratulate the Prime Minister when he said, I will provide space to redress the economy without compromising the socially vulnerable. Everyone believes that our present concerns are to reduce our budget deficit, control inflation, and prevent further the depreciation of the rupee. On the diplomatic and international fronts, I would like to thank the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister for the reopening of negotiations on the Chagos Archipelagos deal. The previous government, Kachimini, was in a hurry to conclude the political agreements before the general elections, but God's plans was different. And these negotiations stopped, and we are now doing it again. Another point is when we have reopened talks with the SADC and we had to pay whatever we were owing to them. And internationally, we can see that Mauritius has pictured itself as a member of the SADC. Mr. Deputy Speaker, let me talk a bit about my constituency. Number 14, and I need to thank all my mandates for whatever job they have done for us. For today, me and my two colleagues are sitting here in this assembly. Since the last 40 years, there was one man ruling over there, but nothing has been done. Like we say, the constituency Rivière Noire Savane has been left in Marée Noire. If we look at the constituency geographically, it's the only constituency having most of our hotels in Mauritius. And this is the only constituency bringing more money and bringing currency, foreign currencies. But last Monday, we had the Minister of Transport over there, but he never realized that there's only one way to go to Rivière Noire, there's only one road to go over there, and he never predicted that if ever something happens over there, the whole West is closed. And we, as a team, we are planning to open a substitute road which leads to the West, and if ever something happens, we are predicting that there's a different way to get out of the West. Since child, Mr. Deputy Speaker, everyone knows Black River is the driest district in Mauritius, but still nothing has been done for the last 42 years to deliver water, to store water, or even to work out something for the irrigation. Now I need to thank the Prime Minister when he was here during the year of 2005 till 2010 when he inaugurated the Mockery Bridge, which was a catastrophic place when there was accidents over there. Due to the time, I can't see you're looking at the time, but I will conclude, Mr. Deputy Speaker,
Thank you.
by saying that many governments fail because of mismanagement, fraud, bribe, and corruption. Dishonest and corrupt people are at the head of important organizations, nepotism, drug trafficking, poor governance, red tapeism, money laundering, and many others. This government will set an example of good governance and transparency. If leaders and high officers are not liable to public scrutiny, accountability, and transparency, the future of the country will be dim. I wish to end my speech on a quote of Kofi Annan, ex-secretary of the United Nations. I quote, "If corruption is a disease, the treatment is transparency." I unquote. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I think I'm in time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Ramtual.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, it is with great determination and a clear vision that I stand before this August Assembly in the context of the government program 2025-2029, a bridge to the future. I rise and stand not driven by power or wealth, but driven by purpose. Allow me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, to congratulate you and Madam Speaker for being elected in your respective functions. I also seize this opportunity to congratulate all elected members of the Parliament, along with Honourable Babulal and Honourable Somtali. Our constituency number 10 stands strong with the three of us. And a big thank you to all my constituents of constituency number 10. Monsieur le Vice-président, on a détrôné un certain Zanana who was boasting about his 23,000 votes when our now Prime Minister came up with little less than that. But it's good news that not just one, not just two, but all three candidates who stood against them in the 2024 elections made it to this Parliament. And this serves as a lesson to those people. My sincere congratulations also go to the Honourable Prime Minister Dr. Navin Ramgoolam and Honourable Paul Raymond Béranger, Deputy Prime Minister. Together, you represent the two key pillars of our modern, democratic, resilient and digital Mauritius, which we are all looking forward to. And thank you for this opportunity, for which I am wholeheartedly grateful to you. And the biggest respect I can give to you is by doing my work with integrity, morality, and equity. Mr. the Deputy Speaker, sir, our nation today stands at the crossroad of digital transformation, and we are committed to making Mauritius an intelligent island, a nation where governance is not only efficient, but also inclusive, transparent, and citizen-centric. As the digital revolution is disrupting and reshaping economies across the world, Mauritius cannot afford to fall behind. And it is our duty to ensure that every citizen and business benefits from the seamless, secure, and efficient digital public services, so that we bring the required innovation to the economy, and so that we better the lives of the people who brought us to this August Assembly. And this is why we are embarking on a 360-degree digital transformation program for government services. A transformation that will be built upon citizen engagement, data-driven decision-making, responsible governance, and transparency. The bridge to the future, Mr. the Deputy Speaker, sir, will be digital. It is good to observe that there is an e-government readiness index, which is an international benchmark that compares the performance of digital governments worldwide. In 2020, Mauritius stood at 63rd globally, but in 2022, we lost 12 ranks. And this is a worrying decline, which was primarily due to our weak performance in terms of online services index. And the question that readily comes to the mind is whether our services are really online, but a few. And there is now a very strong need to solidify our foundational elements to establish a digital Mauritius and intelligent island. That need is very strong because it has been really shattered and shaken by the MSM government. We start with a committee room of 2019, in as much as they would claim that there was nothing wrong happening in there. The advantage that they drew was the immediacy of information. When you have information at your fingertip, there is a lot of actions that you can take to remedy a degrading situation. That was followed by the attempt to control social media by the ICTA in April 2021. And it was a failed attempt. And they didn't stop there. They went to Bejakote, and we all are aware about the sniffing gate. And the investigations that are ongoing will reveal what they really did out there. And they still didn't stop there. They went for the SIM card re-registration, which actually represented a sword of Damocles on the heads of Mauritians who hold SIM cards. They came up with a selfie, they came up with a middleware, they came up with a liveness test. Everything was good for them, and nothing was stopping them. The intentions were very questionable. No wonder more than 50% Mauritians refused to give in to that bad intention. And the cherry on the cake, really, in that case, was the phone tapping. You know, and this reminds us of what a boomerang does. And it really did have that actual effect. But in order to hide their ill intentions, they tried to use the curtain of AI. They tried to actually make people believe that it was all generated by AI. But they forgot that AI does not speak Creole. AI doesn't go to the markets, right? And to date, we are in a position where when we talk about AI, people tend to get a bit uncomfortable. And that actually tells us that there's a lot of work to be done in terms of sensitizing the whole nation around what AI does and what it cannot do, and what can be the good effects and the ill effects of AI. We've been subject to misinformation and disinformation. We've been subject to generative AI, seeing the videos that were generated by machines. And that definitely calls for some type of regulation so that we can have the right framework which will enable AI to develop, which will enable our businesses and our society to benefit from the revolution of AI. And there was also, and that was like, you know, the height of it, the social media ban on November 1. The whole country woke up, shocked, on the 1st of November. Never ever did that happen in this country where social media was banned. Not just that, the internet speed was reduced. There was little consideration for people who depended on the internet to do their work, whether it was locally or connecting abroad. There was little consideration for Generation Z, our youth, for Generation Alpha, who were born with the internet being part of their lives. For most people here, Generation Y, the internet, the social media has been imposed upon us, and we learned to live with it. However, for Generation Z, Generation Alpha, they were born with it. And to them, it is almost a born right. And I'm personally of the opinion, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that the data rights should or could be enshrined within the Constitution so that we ensure that our data rights are protected, so that never ever again, I repeat it, never ever again does our country find itself in a situation where it is taken in otage by any government. And it's our duty as a nation to ensure that we protect the forthcoming generations. And 2024 elections weren't about really elections. It was about generations. It was about ensuring that we set up the right framework, the right country, so that the country continues living, striving, and thriving for our generations. There are many cases of mismanagement. Let me just tell you one of them. There is an institution within my portfolio where there are more board members than employees. When we look at this situation, we ask ourselves, what were they doing out there? And this reminds us, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we cannot put a crown on the head of a clown and expect him to be a king. That doesn't happen. And this is the situation that we have lived. There was a chatbot that was established, for Mauritian citizens, for AI applications in government. But few months after being deployed, and that cost us 10 million rupees of taxpayers' money, that chatbot was turned down because it wasn't giving the right responses. It took us 2 weeks. It took us 2 weeks to remedy that chatbot, and it is now working. So the intentions weren't right. The focus wasn't there. I think there was so much more intention, so much more energy and resources invested into taking selfies than actually doing something productive for the country. And the best one is the satellite. 29 million rupees paid for the satellite. And what did we get out of that? 15 satellite images. Almost 2 million rupees per satellite image. And that is how public money was being used. We have embarked, the Deputy Speaker, sir, on a very important exercise that will produce the ICT blueprint for the years to come. The objective is to digitally support the program, A Bridge to the Future. It will be based on principles of e-inclusion, e-democracy, fairness, and most importantly, the rule of law. And the key pillars there would be the government-to-government services. That is, how do we render digital the government internal interactions, government-to-citizen services, and government-to-business services. There was a time when Mauritius was very highly respected in the field of IT within the African region, but we have declined in that position as well. Today, there are other African countries that are doing better than us, and we have du pain sur la planche, and we are ready for it because we have the right intentions and we have commitment. So that blueprint, we started it in a very consultative approach. And for us, we are very well used to what we call as the PPP, the public-private partnership. But we are inclined towards adding a fourth P to it. That will be the people, the public-private people partnership. And that is why we have also opened the chatbot to receive input from the public at large with regards to the ICT blueprint. And the consultative process has taken us to meeting with different sectors of the economy. The tourism, the education, the finance, the insurance, the banks. So we have been consulting with all of those sectors of the industry to seek their input so that we can establish the right technological environment, the need for them to achieve the growth. There are so many companies within Mauritius who are delivering their services within Europe and within Africa. And we have not done justice to the potential that Africa presents to us. And we are very proud that the first trip that our Prime Minister, Dr. Navin Ramgoolam, effected was on the African land. That shows our commitment to Africa as well. We are also having the support of the Cabinet and all honorable members for the ICT blueprint. And one of the key elements there would be establishment of an AI policy that will drive accountability, it will mitigate bias, it will enhance fairness, it will be people-centered and innovation-friendly. It's good to note that there was one AI strategy developed in the year 2018. Out of around 39 recommendations, only one was executed. And that one recommendation was to establish the organization I just mentioned, the one which has more board members than employees. So it was actually not taken seriously. Mr. the Deputy Speaker, sir, beyond sectoral initiatives, Mauritius is also taking a holistic approach towards, as we mentioned, the AI governance. Therefore, a national AI policy is currently being developed to ensure that we embrace AI strategically, ethically, and in a responsible manner. This policy will define clear guidelines for AI deployment across key sectors, establish ethical AI principles, and ensure that AI is used to empower businesses, improve public services, and drive national productivity. We are looking forward to this AI policy, helping us position Mauritius as a leader for AI-driven innovation within the African region. It will also promote collaboration between government, academia, and the private sector. The future, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, will be AI-driven, and our workforce must be AI-ready. We have to undo the wrongs of the MSM government in terms of how AI is perceived, and we have to replace that with the right perception of AI. This government is committed to fostering a digital-first mindset, where every citizen, every business, and every institution can harness AI to innovate, optimize processes, and drive a competitive advantage out of this. So we also want to move our citizens from being in line to getting online. We are well aware of the facilities to effect online payment for what we call as vehicle declaration. We are also well aware of our ability to submit our tax returns online. If we look at the percentage of how many people are doing both these, using both these services online, there's a huge difference. And that huge difference lies in the fact that the systems have not been properly designed. And I am working with my colleague, Honorable Mohammed, on enhancing that system so that we can drive further utilization. We have also prepared the deployment of the mobile ID. And in the mobile ID, there will be no middleware, no selfie, no photographs. We are not fan of taking people's pictures. So we will actually be able to deploy it in the right manner within the respect of the privacy rights that the Constitution guarantees to people. We are also working towards having one government app with one password, and that will allow you to access the whole set of government services. And other key projects, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, will also look at revamping our legislations for IT. It would be important to note that the Electronic Transactions Act, which was based on the model law of Judicial, was only enacted and no updates were done to it. There are so many Mauritians who effect online purchases, and very often, they are not provided with the products, they are not refunded in case there are problems. So we are looking at the possibility of establishing the right legal framework, which is based on the Unicitral model, so that all countries that are signatory to that model, there will be an agreement to protect people who are transacting online. It is also important to note that today, there are more than 50% of local companies that are not compliant to the provisions of the Data Protection Act 2017. Not later than yesterday, there was an incident that took place. There were a lot of photocopies of driving licenses that were dumped on the roads. And it contained a lot of private, personal, and personally identifiable information. And these types of practices reflect the fact that we are not conscious of the need to protect personal data. So the data protection culture within the country also needs to be enhanced across companies and the society at large. Mr. the Deputy Speaker, sir, to allow further innovation, the need for a reform in the licensing regime is pressing. The onset of everything over IP, smart cities, cloud services, and the operation of what we call as the Internet of Things has to be part of what we see on a daily basis. Therefore, the ICT Authority would be working on further programs to bring these types of innovations. And finally, Mr. the Deputy Speaker, sir, we plan to revamp what we call as the postcode. So the granularity of the postcode needs to be enhanced so that when we have autonomous drones across, the precision would be higher. Not just that, the post office has moved from being an envelope mover to becoming a parcel mover. And that calls for review. So that institution will be reviewed so that we are able to support all the digital transformation programs. And on this note, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity, Mr. the Deputy Speaker, sir. And together, we want to make Mauritius the Mauritius we knew. And we want to also work together with everybody in the House so that we can provide to the people of Mauritius the Mauritius they deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Ravin.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I stand before the August Assembly to say thank you to the people of Mauritius, to say thank you to all those patriots who believed in Alliance du Changement. And as you have witnessed, Mr. Deputy Speaker, your appointment being a seasoned lawyer and the appointment of Madam Speaker, also a seasoned lawyer, these are testimony of a new era in this temple of democracy. And I congratulate you and Madam Speaker for your election as Deputy Speaker and Speaker of the National Assembly. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have witnessed, this is my second mandate, we have witnessed during the past 5 years, during my first mandate, where I made my maiden speech on the 3rd of February 2020, whereby I advocated for constitutional reforms. I said before this very August Assembly that we are at a crossroad, that Mauritius, we should move for major constitutional reforms, and that we should all join hands for this to happen. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. There was no commitment, no political will to move ahead with constitutional reforms. What we had a sort of a decay with regards to how democracy was being treated. In this very August Assembly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we had occasions where I was so flabbergasted as to my venue here as a lawyer being in this temple of democracy, to see how seasoned politicians, experienced parliamentarians, former Prime Minister, Honorable Béranger, Honorable Minister Bagwan, Honorable Arvin Boulel, Honorable Assia Vaden, Honorable Shakil Mohamed, and young parliamentarian, Honorable Joanna Béranger, how they were being treated, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in this very August Assembly. And the cherry on the cake, Mr. Deputy Speaker, when we were standing just at the doorstep, when they were making a mockery of democracy, using the chair of the Speaker to seal a political alliance, the PMSD and the MSN. Today, the PMSD is in a political abyss. But what they did, this mockery to our democracy, using the chair of the Speaker to seal a political alliance, is just the tip of the iceberg as how corrupt, how they were governing with the politics of fear, and how the people of Mauritius were just waiting, as Honorable Minister Bagwan rightly said. People were waiting for them. They had to wear their helmet. But the people didn't let them wear the helmet. When they went to vote, they used the power of a pen. This made this 60-0 a very unique one, a very unique victory. Because very early in the morning, people were going out, people were voicing out, but people were showing their pen, the power of a pen, to combat this politics of fear. We all, in this very August Assembly, we witnessed it. We all, members of the opposition, we faced all sorts of caprices from the institutions that were not independent, be it the MRA, be it the Financial Crimes Commission or former ICAC, be it other bodies that were not independent. But we stood by the people of Mauritius, and together with my honorable friend, Honorable Junior Minister Véronique Legovin, Honorable Richard Duval, Xavier Duval, he betrayed us, he betrayed the alliance. We stood and we walked along, Honorable Paul Béranger, Honorable Dr. Navin Ramgoolam, now Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. And we are proud that we have been part of this walk to safeguard our democracy. And this will go down in history as being on the right side of history. And democracy being at the very basis of our victory, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is the very backbone of this government program. And I'm so proud to have our Honorable Attorney General, a seasoned lawyer, a senior counsel, accepting the post of Attorney General. And this is a systemic change from what we have witnessed in the very past. Having an Attorney General who is the chief legal advisor of government, who is above party politics. And I salute him and the Honourable Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers to have Honourable Gavin Glover as Attorney General. And this goes a long way to say how now we are moving ahead. We are forging to move ahead to have a vibrant economy, a vibrant democracy. Let us see how our diplomacy is moving. Honourable Minister Ramphul vividly portrayed the decay in our way diplomacy was being done in this very august assembly in this country. Now we've seen this systemic change. The Honourable Prime Minister renewed ties with vigor with our African brothers and sisters when he went in mid-February to attend the head of states of the African Union. This marks a line of demarcation with the way this government wants to do politics, wants to move this country ahead. And by doing so, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the way the Chagos negotiations are being conducted, the way, the statesmanship of the Honourable Prime Minister and of the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, together with the team, the Honourable Foreign Minister, the Honourable Attorney General, and all the diplomats giving a helping hand. We've heard what President Trump has said. It is in the public domain now. This gives credit to our team, the way they have conducted and negotiated in the very best interest of our country. And sovereignty, again, is at the heart of our negotiation. And this will be a very vital success for our democracy and also for our ocean state. And let me remind this august assembly and this country that it all started in 2010 when the Honourable Prime Minister, Dr. Navin Ramgoolam, together with the then Foreign Affairs Minister, Arvind Boulel, they lodged a case against the United Kingdom before the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. And on the 18th of March 2015, we got that judgment that gave us the impetus to move ahead with further legal actions. And today, we are having the results. And again, sovereignty of our country is primordial and at the heart of the people of Mauritius. And it is a matter of pride when I see in the government program that we are also moving ahead with what was kept in the drawers, the reform of the judiciary. Mr. Deputy Speaker, as a lawyer, you will know that Lord Mackay of Clashfern gave loads of recommendations for us to amend things and make access to justice a reality in this country. And I'm glad to see that now we are moving with the establishment of a Court of Appeal, which is in our Constitution. Section 80 of our Constitution says that we need a Court of Appeal. But for the time being, in that 1968, for the time being, we will be celebrating about 57 years. For the time being, it has been kept with the judges of the Supreme Court. It's time to move on. We need major reforms. And this will form part also of reforms that are being brought within 6 months with the establishment of this Constitutional Review Commission. So I'm also very glad to see that we will have also a division of the Supreme Court that will deal with constitutional cases. Because in this very august assembly, we've got at least 4 or 5 members who already have cases before the Supreme Court that are still pending. We've got Honourable Minister Boulel, Honourable Minister Assia Vaden, Honourable Minister Mohammed, but also the former Director of Public Prosecutions. Way back in 2015, he entered a case against the Office of the Attorney General. We are in 2025. The case is still pending before the Supreme Court. because we need to ease the way things goes before our courts of law. And the report of Lord Mackay of Clashwan is of vital importance for us to move ahead. Mr. Deputy Speaker, for us to become a nation state, this also I advocated in my maiden speech in 2020.
You please conclude.
Is it time to conclude?
Additional 1 minute to conclude.
Okay, 1 minute to conclude. So for us to become that ocean state, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we need to implement those major constitutional reforms. So before concluding, I would like to say a big thank you to the people of constituency number 15 for believing and having the confidence and trust in me. And together with Honorable Asya Vaden, Minister of Public Utilities, together with my learned colleague, Honorable Junior Minister Fauzi Aliman, we shall live up to that expectation. But, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to let Mauritius be Mauritius again, we have got the absolute majority. We need all of us now to walk the talk. So I urge all of us, we need now to walk the talk to make Mauritius Mauritius again. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Junior Minister Béranger.
Monsieur le Vice-président, je dois commencer, moi aussi, par vous dire ma joie de pouvoir m'exprimer devant vous ici aujourd'hui. C'est une joie d'abord de pouvoir commenter le programme gouvernemental lu par le Président de la République, qui est définitivement un agenda de progrès, mais aussi et surtout de pouvoir le faire sans être interrompu toutes les 10 minutes par un speaker dictateur ou harcelé par une majorité cherchant systématiquement à déshumaniser l'opposition. Une bouffée d'air frais pour notre Parlement, donc, et à travers ce programme gouvernemental, un vent de liberté sur notre pays après 10 ans d'un gouvernement manipulateur, autoritaire et diviseur. Nous avons le devoir d'apprendre des erreurs passées, même quand elles ne sont pas les nôtres. Et nous sommes là pour les corriger, pour assurer un meilleur avenir à l'île Maurice. S'il y a un mérite, si on peut dire ainsi, que l'on doit reconnaître à l'ancien régime, c'est bien celui d'avoir mis en lumière les failles de nos lois. Eux s'en sont servis pour bafouer notre démocratie, pour opprimer nos concitoyens. Nous allons y remédier pour nous assurer que plus jamais un gouvernement ne puisse détourner l'esprit démocratique de notre République. Le fait que nos concitoyens aient été privés de leur droit de vote aux élections municipales depuis 10 ans en est un exemple frappant. L'histoire nous apprend qu'aucun droit n'est définitivement acquis, aucune liberté à l'abri d'abus. Mais l'obscurité ne pourra triompher aussi longtemps qu'il y aura des Mauriciens et des Mauriciennes qui aiment sincèrement leur pays. Aussi longtemps que la gauche, sous toutes ses formes, sera debout dans cette Assemblée. Aussi longtemps que le MMM sera là, avec ses alliés, fidèles à ses valeurs. Autrefois, nous avons renforcé notre démocratie en rendant obligatoires les élections législatives tous les 5 ans. Aujourd'hui, nous devons le faire pour les élections municipales. Autrefois, nous avons posé les bases d'une démocratie, d'un pays affranchi des carcans ethniques. Aujourd'hui, nous devons poursuivre la consolidation, la construction de notre nation mauricienne, fière de son histoire commune, de sa langue créole et de sa culture métissée. Pendant trop longtemps, le changement de paradigme en politique est resté un idéal. Aujourd'hui, nous avons les moyens de le concrétiser. Face aux grands défis de notre siècle, à la grande crise de notre siècle, le changement climatique, nous nous engageons à instaurer le droit de la nature dans notre Constitution et les droits écologiques comme des droits fondamentaux de chaque citoyen. La soutenabilité ne sera plus une considération secondaire, mais le socle des politiques publiques. À travers cet amendement constitutionnel historique, nous redéfinirons notre rapport à l'environnement. Il n'est ni un simple cadre à aménager, ni une ressource à exploiter. Il est un tout dont l'humanité fait pleinement partie. Et l'ancien régime a toujours refusé de reconnaître cette interdépendance, détruisant ainsi non seulement notre démocratie, mais aussi notre environnement. J'ai maintes fois interpellé l'ancien ministre de l'Environnement sur les attaques répétées contre notre patrimoine naturel. Le projet Judicial, qui a défiguré la montagne de la Tourelle et créé un précédent. Les rénovations sur les routes B103 et B104 à Chamarel, faites sans études environnementales, détruisant une des rares forêts endémiques qui nous restaient et qui abrite des cresserelles. Le métro express, dont l'IAE est resté caché et qui a aggravé les inondations. Les constructions sur les zones humides de Belle-Homme, à Baie-du-Tombeau, la liste est longue. Combien de fois avions-nous demandé à ce que la voix des ONG, de la société civile, des experts soit entendue? Combien de fois a-t-il préféré sacrifier la vie pour les profits? Nous réparerons ce qui peut l'être, mais surtout nous assurerons la protection de nos meilleurs alliés face au changement climatique. Toutes nos réformes seront menées avec une consultation élargie où la société civile jouera un rôle décisif de partenaire. Nous amenderons aussi l'Environment Act 2024 pour enlever les incohérences et combler les failles. Pourquoi, par exemple, les projets de moins de 50 unités sur le littoral échappent-ils aux études d'impact environnemental? Un vide juridique dont Maradiva, qui a bénéficié de plus de 650 millions de la MAIC, rappelons-le, et Sense, avec ses appartements et ses penthouses, 48 au total, donc juste un petit peu en dessous du seuil de 50, profitent pleinement. Ils sont nombreux à profiter et abuser de ce vide juridique. Nous mettrons fin à ces abus et redonneront tout leur sens au IAE, Environmental Impact Assessment, et SEA, Strategic Environment Assessment. Et nous définirons clairement ce qui est de l'intérêt public pour que la notion d'intérêt public ne puisse plus servir d'excuse pour en réalité favoriser les intérêts privés. Nous promulguerons aussi l'Environmental Sensitive Area Act, trop longtemps attendu. Le rapport ISC 2009 dit que 90% de nos zones écologiquement sensibles ont déjà été détruites alors qu'elles sont essentielles face à la crise climatique. Au lieu d'agir, l'ancien gouvernement a créé un énième comité sans pouvoir. Nous leur accorderons une protection réelle à travers une loi cadre, comme promis, parce que le MMM est signataire du manifeste pour un ISC Bill, recommandé également par le Master Plan de l'environnement 2020-2030. Je tiens à préciser que ces réformes ne freineront pas le développement économique. Elles instaureront une gouvernance responsable pour garantir un progrès maîtrisé et durable. Pendant trop longtemps, le MSM a voulu faire croire que protection de l'environnement et développement sont opposés. Ce n'est pas le cas. Mais un projet qui inonde les maisons, un autre qui détruit une forêt endémique, alors qu'il ne nous reste que 1% de nos forêts endémiques, ce n'est pas ça le vrai développement. Nous mettrons au cœur de nos décisions l'humain et la nature, la vie avant profit. C'est aussi dans cette optique que nous mettrons en œuvre notre plan pour une économie circulaire, le tri, recyclage des déchets, valorisation des matériaux de construction, directive pour un plan d'humanisme respectueux de l'environnement. La crise climatique n'est pas seulement une nécessité, la transition écologique, n'est pas seulement une nécessité, mais aussi moteur de croissance et créatrice d'emplois. C'est pourquoi nous soutiendrons pleinement le Skills Master Plan annoncé dans le programme gouvernemental pour préparer notre main-d'œuvre aux métiers émergents. Il est aussi impératif de retrouver notre rôle de leadership au sein des SIDS et de l'AOSIS pour mieux porter nos revendications face aux pays pollueurs. C'est par une voix unie que nous serons entendus et respectés. Monsieur le Vice-président, nous avons aujourd'hui une opportunité inédite de transformer notre pays. Notre victoire écrasante nous oblige à donner le meilleur de nous-mêmes pour assurer l'avenir de l'île Maurice. Grâce à une alliance équilibrée entre expérience et dynamisme, ce gouvernement a tous les moyens pour mener à bien ce changement déjà amorcé. Il nous appartient de continuer sur cette lancée, de retrouver ce pays que nous avons tous aimé et de l'améliorer. Et l'améliorer passe inévitablement, et je vais terminer dessus, par la reconnaissance de notre langue créole. Notre Constitution proclame en son article 1 que l'île Maurice est un État souverain et démocratique et garantit à l'article 12 la liberté d'expression, toute restriction devant être justifiée dans une société démocratique. Le créole mauricien, langue maternelle et patrimoine commun de la nation, ne fait pourtant pas partie des débats parlementaires. Et pourtant, son utilisation est un instrument essentiel dans l'exercice de cette souveraineté démocratique, permettant une participation véritablement inclusive. Il ne fait pas partie des débats parlementaires au motif que l'article 47 établit l'anglais comme langue officielle à l'Assemblée, tout en autorisant le français. Ce texte n'interdit pourtant pas explicitement l'utilisation du créole mauricien, bien que son interprétation soit couramment celle-là, au prix d'une contradiction avec les articles 1 et l'article 12. Mais j'ai envie de vous dire que son utilisation est essentielle au Parlement pour pouvoir vraiment avoir une démocratie et permettre que tout le monde comprenne les débats parlementaires. Quand on permet quand une lecture est possible, on privilégie celle qui concilie plutôt que celle qui exclut. Et en démocratie, ce qui n'est pas interdit est admis. À cause de ça, paraît qui qui empêche que le créole mauricien trouve sa place dans le débat parlementaire pour qu'il nous capable en cohérence avec nos constitutions et avec nos principes démocratiques. Il arrive l'air pour qu'il Mauricien capable que autres langages dans autres parlements. Je vous remercie les autres pour votre attention.
Merci, merci. Honorable Mr. Uchit.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address before this August Assembly on my maiden speech as Minister of Local Government. I stand here with a deep sense of responsibility and gratitude. I warmly congratulate Madam Speaker and you, the Deputy Speaker, and I extend my heartfelt thanks to our Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Navin Chandraram, without forgetting the people of my constituency number 5 for their trust placed upon me. I also want to express my warm congratulations to DPM, Honorable Paul Béranger, and all the honorable members for the National Assembly, especially to the newly elected representative for the first time. Deputy Speaker, sir, this significant victory of the l'Alliance du Changement on November 10, 2024, clearly showed that our citizens desire a fresh direction in governance. They chose a government that will listen, understand, and act on their behalf. This vision is deeply rooted in the principle promoting democracy and restoring good governance, as outlined in our government program 2025-2029, A Bridge to the Future. Deputy Speaker, sir, when I assumed office, our nation was facing serious economic recession caused by clear mismanagement by the previous government. Our financial state was so worsened that Moody's downgraded our credit rating to Baa3, a clear warning that we were on the verge of a crisis. Due to this mismanagement, today our country is facing so many serious problems. Our economy is weak, our roads are unsafe and have alarming high fatality rate. Our healthcare system lacks resources. 24 hours water supply are unreliable, and the energy sector is close to collapse. Every day, prices are rising, and the living costs are becoming a burden. Small business owners, entrepreneurs, farmers, fishermen, the self-employed, and professionals who provide us with essential services also lost their trust because their hard-earned wealth is being wasted through corruption and or nepotism. On top of that, we are losing our brightest minds and skilled professionals to foreign countries, and our key institutions are suffering from a loss of trust and integrity. All these issues shows the urgent need for comprehensive reform at all levels by the actual government. At the same time, we need to support all the citizens, including those struggling with drug addiction. Deputy Speaker, sir, our government has acted decisively on several fronts. The arrest of the former Prime Minister, Pravin Jagannath, along with other individuals, shows our commitment to accountability. We have also amended the law to restore full authority to the Independent Director of Public Prosecution, that is a DPP. This change ensures that investigations, whether involving politicians or ordinary citizens, are conducted impartially and without interference. Justice must be independent, and we stand firmly by that principle. Moreover, the sensitive Chagos issue further complicated our diplomatic efforts. The previous government was pressured into finalizing an agreement with the British government before the US presidential election. But our Prime Minister made it clear that this deal was not in Mauritius' national interest. We have since made important changes to protect our sovereignty and adjust the lease duration accordingly. Additionally, I must stress that our Prime Minister has assured the public that all illegal phone tapping operations have now ceased, a clear departure from the practice of the previous government. Such practices not only violated fundamental rights, but also adopted a culture of fear and distress. Deputy Speaker, sir, now I will address on my ministry. My ministry oversees 12 local authorities, which include 5 municipal councils covering 30 wards and 7 district councils managing 130 villages. These bodies are vital for bringing government closer to the people, empowering communities, and ensuring access to high-quality public services, modern infrastructure, and a better standard of living for everyone. One of our top priorities is the modernizing of our electoral and governance system. For context, the last municipal city and town council elections were held in June 2015, with their term scheduled to end in June 2021. Since then, the previous government has postponed the election 3 times. Initially, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the election were delayed for 1 year starting 15 June 2021, and then again for another year from 14 June 2022. Deputy Speaker, sir, despite these postponements, the election were postponed once more to June 2025. Instead of allowing the councils to complete their natural term, the previous administration amended the Local Government Act to extend their mandate by an additional 2 years without proper justification or public consultation. Moreover, although 1.5 years had passed since the latest postponement, no official report on these reforms had been presented to the National Assembly when they were in power. Our government is committed to upholding democracy and ensuring that the municipal council are held in May 2025. Deputy Speaker, sir, parallel, we have established an interministerial committee and a technical committee tasked with reviewing the Local Government Act and its regulation. We have also invited public feedbacks, their views and comments on these reforms by March 31st, 2025. Our decentralization policy is our main plans. We will grant local authorities more autonomy and improve their financial management through new legislation that clearly set the framework for budgeting, revenue generation, and fiscal accountability. A new, fair granting aid formula will be developed to ensure that funds are allocated equally among all local authorities, ending the favorism seen in the past. We are also introducing measures to increase local revenue while keeping spending under strict control. In our drive to modernize, we are digitizing the operation of local authorities. By automating business processes and moving to a paperless system, we aim to enhance transparency and efficiency. This includes the implementation of web-based accounting, finance, human resources, and payroll systems. Furthermore, we will review the approach behind our urban terminal projects so that future terminals are modern, eco-friendly, safe, and economically sustainable. Deputy Speaker, sir, we are also addressing everyday challenges faced by our communities. We have visited many markets and fairs and found that several operate under unsafe conditions. The recent fire at Port Central Market, where the proper fire certificate was not obtained, exposed serious regulatory failures. In response, we have instructed the municipal authorities to enforce strict fire safety rules. Many markets, including the newly built in Mayber, suffer from poor ventilation, inadequate lighting, substandard sanitation, and improper drainage system. These issues pose serious health risks and must be resolved immediately. For too long, our citizens have not had safe, clean, and well-equipped shopping space. Deputy Speaker, sir, our commitment extends to neglected communities space as well. Cemeteries and incineration ground have been ignored for far too long. We will improve these areas by creating green spaces and proper shelters that honor the dignity of those who have passed away. Incinerators also will be repaired as soon as possible. In line with paragraph 71 of our government program for modernizing physical infrastructure, local authorities will launch several major capital projects. These include the renovation of the Plaza Theatre at Rosehill, the construction of multipurpose complex at Suriname, Cartier, Shell, and at Rosebois, and the building of new market fair in Mayber, Bamboo, Kerpip, and Bonacay. Additionally, we will upgrade sport facilities with projects such as multipurpose sport complex, gymnasium at Stanley, Rosehill, as well as facilities at Saint Felix and Petit Julie. Deputy Speaker, in addition, the following measures at local level in line with the government modernization program will be undertaken. Installation of children play equipment. New modern children play equipment will be installed in playgrounds to encourage children to have access to safe and engaging recreational space. Cremation grounds. Most of our cremation grounds will be equipped with incinerators to provide more space for burials. We will restore to compulsory land acquisition where possible. Street lighting. All sodium vapor lamps will be replaced by more efficient LED and sodium solar lamps with appropriate intensity of light. Nurseries. All local authorities will be encouraged to set up their own nurseries, plant nurseries, in line with our vision for embellishing our towns and villages and for a greener Mauritius. Deputy Speaker, sir, addressing environmental concerns is another priority. In 2019, the former Minister of Environment, Calvira Manu, visited Reunion Island to introduce waste segregation in Mauritius. But till today, nothing has been done in this direction. Now, together with the Solid Waste Management Division of the Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change, we will mandate that all local authorities to implement household-level waste segregation. We will also build new public toilets where needed and renovate or replace existing ones. Severe penalties will be imposed on owners of bare lands and for illegal dumpings. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, improving our fire and rescue services also is a crucial one. When I assumed office, 33 out of 54 fire trucks were out of service due to poor maintenance and insufficient investment by the previous government. In just a few weeks, we have restored 6 of these vehicles, clearly demonstrating our determination. We have established a National Fire and Rescue Training Academy and launched the Train the Trainer Fire Safety and Emergency Response Preparedness Program on 18th of February 2025, in partnership with the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service and Polytechnic Mauritius Limited. We will strengthen the capacity building and training of fire services, firefighters, aligning our fire safety protocols with best international practices. We plan to invest in state-of-the-art firefighting equipment, including drones for enhanced monitoring, and update the fire station in both urban and rural areas. New stations will be constructed at strategic locations such as Montagne Blanche and Jinfei to achieve a target of 5 minutes emergency response time. We will also enhance public awareness campaign on fire prevention, disaster preparedness, and community safety, ensuring that citizens are better equipped to prevent and respond to emergencies. During my visit to local council, I found that many vehicles and equipment remain idle and unused because of the previous government neglect. To solve this problem, we are actively searching for a central plot of land to establish a one-stop garage where all broken trucks and machinery can be repaired quickly by specialized engineers. This measure will ensure that the vital services like scavenging, street lighting, and road maintenance are not disrupted in their council. To strengthen our economy, the government will implement policies that will boost up local production, improve productivity, and support industries that add value to our resources. We will support sectors like agro-processing, green energy, and digital innovation by offering financial incentive and simplifying administrative process to attract both local and foreign investment. Local authorities will be given more power to form public-private partnerships that improve infrastructure, support local businesses, and create jobs. Deputy Speaker, sir, our government has made it clear that we are breaking away from the old ways. Where the previous administration delayed decision, we are acting decisively. Where they neglected the needs of our people, we are rebuilding and modernizing. Our commitment to transparency, efficiency, and fairness guides every decision we make. Deputy Speaker, sir, together we will build a stronger, more democratic and modern Mauritius, a country where progress and accountability thrive, and where every citizen benefits from good governance. Let Mauritius be Mauritius again. Thank you all for your attention.
Honourable members, Madam Speaker will take the chair.
seated. Honourable Minister of Labour.
Madame la Présidente, le programme d'action du gouvernement est une feuille de route ambitieuse mais réaliste, visant à créer une nouvelle île Maurice plus juste, plus démocratique, plus écologique, plus prospère. À travers ce programme, le gouvernement entend répondre aux aspirations exprimées par le peuple mauricien lors des élections de novembre dernier. Et c'est sans surprise que le plan d'action fait la part belle aux mesures pour redresser et relancer l'économie. Des mesures visant à transformer notre pays en une économie diversifiée, résiliente et équitable. Des mesures pour créer de l'emploi, stimuler la croissance économique durable et améliorer la résilience économique face aux chocs externes. Madame la Présidente, en décembre dernier, le Premier ministre présentait le State of the Economy, une situation économique désastreuse. Tous les indicateurs économiques étaient au rouge. La dette publique, qui était à 238 milliards en 2014, est aujourd'hui à 560 milliards de roupies, le double, plus de 83% du PIB, alors que les normes internationales prudentes requièrent un taux de 60% ou moins. L'inflation cumulée a dépassé 25%. Notre balance commerciale et notre balance de paiement est nettement déficitaire. Notre déficit budgétaire s'est considérablement aggravé. Les institutions de notation internationale, rating agencies, comme Moody's, nous ont à l'œil, et Moody's, en passant, nous a déjà dégradé dans le niveau de l'output de stable à négatif. Mais malgré cela, Madame la Présidente, malgré cette situation économique désastreuse, le gouvernement n'a pas oublié le petit peuple. Et à peine un mois après notre élection, cette Assemblée votait le paiement d'un 14 mois de bonus à tous les employés touchant moins de 50 000 roupies, à tous les senior citizens, tous les orphelins, tous les veuves, tous les bénéficiaires d'aides sociaux. Nous avons augmenté la pension à 1 000 roupies en plus à partir de janvier. Nous avons donné une compensation salariale de 610 roupies. Nous avons baissé l'essence et le diesel. Et comme le ministre du Commerce vient de nous l'annoncer, depuis la semaine dernière, on est en train de réglementer la marge de profit que les importateurs peuvent faire sur la vente des produits frigorifiés, des légumes frigorifiés et les légumes en boîte. Cela va se traduire en une baisse entre 10 à 30% suite aux prochaines cargaisons. Et Madame la Présidente, ce gouvernement va continuer à travailler pour combattre encore plus la cherté de la vie. Madame la Présidente, ce que notre programme gouvernemental présente est un changement radical, une rupture radicale avec la façon dont l'économie a été gérée lors des 10 dernières années. Et comme précisé dans le discours programme à la page 10, Government will move away from the mainly consumption-driven economic growth model to one that is investment-driven. L'économie basée sur la consommation ne marche pas à Maurice parce qu'on l'a dit et on l'a répété. On importe trop, on ne produit pas suffisamment. Donc, quand on injecte de l'argent dans l'économie, la consommation est utilisée pour importer plus de produits. Et quand on importe plus de produits, il y a une pression sur la roupie se déprécie, les prix augmentent et finalement, le petit peuple se retrouve avec plus d'argent, mais moins d'approvisionnement, moins d'aliments dans son caddie. Oui, c'est vrai qu'il faudra réduire la dette publique, il faudra avoir une discipline fiscale, il faudra réduire le gaspillage, contrôler nos dépenses. Mais cela ne sera pas suffisant, Madame la Présidente. Il nous faut aussi relancer l'économie à travers l'investissement. Investissement qui, malheureusement, ces 10 dernières années, se sont principalement concentrés sur les projets immobiliers. On n'a pas eu vraiment de nouvelles usines, on n'a pas eu vraiment de nouveaux secteurs de production, de nouveaux investissements dans des projets productifs. Donc, la stratégie énoncée dans le plan d'action, Madame la Présidente, c'est essentiellement de consolider les secteurs traditionnels et développer d'autres secteurs porteurs. Le ministre de l'Agro-Industrie nous a parlé longuement comment il compte assurer la sécurité alimentaire du pays. Et là, il faut une politique cohérente, Madame la Présidente. On ne peut pas en même temps venir dire qu'on va mettre plus de terre à la disposition des planteurs pour cultiver plus de potagers, plus de vergers, et en même temps passer une loi pour encourager les propriétaires terriens de faire un développement immobilier pour vendre ce même terrain et les appartements aux étrangers. C'est clair qu'un propriétaire de terrain, au lieu de cultiver des légumes, ils vont préférer développer un projet immobilier et les vendre aux étrangers. Donc il vous faut une cohérence. Le ministre de l'Agro-Industrie a aussi parlé de l'économie bleue. Économique, on en parle, mais maintenant il faut passer à l'action. Il faut une fois pour toutes rentabiliser nos ressources maritimes. On parle beaucoup de l'économie verte. On a écouté le discours de l'honorable ministre de l'Énergie, comment on est déjà sur la corde raide concernant l'énergie par l'inaction de ce gouvernement. Les 10 dernières années, ils n'ont pas fait ne serait-ce qu'un centre thermique, un centre électrique, et aujourd'hui, on se retrouve dans un impasse et il faut investir au plus vite possible pour pouvoir relancer l'énergie. Parce qu'on a besoin de l'énergie pour aussi développer tous les autres secteurs, les secteurs de l'industrie manufacturière, comme expliqué par l'honorable ministre Amir Mia, qui veut relancer les PME aussi et relancer les produits à valeur ajoutée. Le secteur financier, le belle intervention de la ministre du secteur financier, qu'il faut relancer aussi tout l'espoir d'un secteur, parce que beaucoup des jeunes aujourd'hui sont employés par le secteur financier. On a écouté l'honorable ministre de Télécommunications, qui lui aussi veut développer, transformer Maurice en île intelligente. Et cela demande de l'investissement. Le secteur touristique, qui lui aussi veut relancer le tourisme, un tourisme de qualité, un tourisme écologique. En fin de compte, Madame la Présidente, ce que nous proposons dans ce plan d'action, c'est une diversification de nos marchés, une diversification de nos produits. Et contrairement aux années précédentes, on aura une stratégie africaine. Et là, j'aimerais aussi me rejoindre au précédent orateur qui a remercié le Premier ministre d'avoir choisi comme son premier déplacement officiel d'assister au sommet de l'Union africaine. L'Union africaine qui, rappelons-le, nous a soutenus tout au long de notre combat pour retrouver notre souveraineté dans les Chagos, tout le Chagos, y compris Diego Garcia. S'il n'y avait pas l'appui des pays de l'Union africaine, on n'aura jamais pu avoir le vote des Nations Unies, on n'aurait jamais pu retrouver notre souveraineté sur l'archipel des Chagos. Donc, Maurice, en tant que membre à part entière de l'Union africaine, peut jouer ce rôle de passerelle entre les pays développés, les investisseurs et l'Afrique. L'Afrique, continent plein d'opportunités, continent plein de promesses. Et je suis content que l'honorable Premier ministre a profité de son séjour à Addis Abeba pour avoir des pourparlers avec les représentants de Ethiopian Airlines. Parce qu'il est primordial, Madame la Présidente, d'améliorer notre connectivité vers l'Afrique. Aujourd'hui, pour aller en Afrique, on perd un jour. On doit transiter soit par l'Afrique du Sud, soit à travers Dubaï, ou même aller en Europe pour redescendre vers l'Afrique. Donc on perd un jour en allant, un jour en retour. Ce n'est pas possible. Il faut avoir un accord avec des compagnies aériennes qui desservent l'Afrique. Mais pas que l'Afrique, Madame la Présidente. Les autres pays aussi, les autres leaders dans le monde. Je parle là des compagnies telles que Qatar Airways, telles que Singapore Airways, telles que Cathay Pacific, qui ont déjà une réputation internationale et qui peut nous donner plus de venues de tourisme. Parce qu'il faut bien malheureusement le constater, Air Mauritius est à genoux. Ce qui était jadis notre fierté, aujourd'hui est à genoux. Le gouvernement précédent a vendu des avions pour du pain du beurre. Et au lieu de ça, maintenant, on doit aller louer des avions qui passent plus leur temps à être réparés qu'à s'envoler. Aujourd'hui, le branding de Air Mauritius a pris un coup fatal et il est nécessaire maintenant qu'on retrouve on redonne les lettres de noblesse à Air Mauritius. Et pourtant, Madame la Présidente, je dois vous rappeler que la MIC, Mauritius Investment Corporation, a injecté 25 milliards de roupies, 25 milliards de notre argent, l'argent de la Banque de Maurice, a été utilisé pour les besoins de Airport Holdings Limited, qui détient tout l'actionnariat de Air Mauritius. Madame la Présidente, il n'y a pas que la connectivité aérienne. Il nous faut aussi développer notre secteur portuaire. L'honorable Lobine et moi-même, nous avons eu l'occasion à maintes reprises lors de ces 5 dernières années d'interpeller le gouvernement précédent et le Premier ministre précédent sur l'urgence d'investir dans et de développer notre zone portuaire. C'est inacceptable qu'aujourd'hui, sur 8 portiques, seulement 4 ou 5 sont en opération. Tous les équipements sont vieux, doivent être remplacés. En plus de ça, la coopération est minée par des disputes entre syndicalistes et management. Et pendant ce temps, les bateaux se plaignent et évitent de transiter par Maurice. En fin d'année, on a vu comment ils ont boudé le port de Maurice pour préférer d'aller débarquer leurs marchandises sur le Sri Lanka. Donc aujourd'hui, on a un défi à relever concernant le développement portuaire. C'est dans notre ambition, Madame la Présidente, de faire Maurice une plaque tournante pour tous les trafics maritimes de l'Asie vers l'Afrique, et cela passera nécessairement par des conventions avec des pays comme la Chine, comme l'Inde, et des pays africains et des ports africains. Madame la Présidente, tous les jours, en tant que ministre du Travail, je rencontre des investisseurs. Des investisseurs qui croient dans Maurice, des investisseurs qui croient dans ce nouveau gouvernement, des investisseurs qui veulent travailler avec ce gouvernement pour investir et développer Maurice. Mais on a une contrainte majeure en ce qui concerne les travailleurs mauriciens. Il y a beaucoup d'investisseurs qui se plaignent qu'ils n'arrivent pas à trouver des emplois, ils n'arrivent pas à recruter localement. Et certains Mauriciens qui recrutent ne veulent pas travailler les week-ends, ils ne veulent pas faire du overtime, ils ne veulent pas travailler à des heures nocturnes. Donc, recruter des travailleurs étrangers est une nécessité. Et je dois dire qu'aujourd'hui, avec 48 000 étrangers, qui représentent seulement 8% de la force du labour force à Maurice, on a encore une large marge de manœuvre concernant le recrutement des travailleurs étrangers. Malheureusement, dans le passé récent, les travailleurs étrangers ont été malmenés, maltraités, et cela nous a donné une mauvaise publicité, à tel point qu'aux États-Unis, on a été placé sur la liste noire de Traffic in Person, et la liste noire par le Department of Trade comme étant un pays où il y a forced labor. Donc au niveau de mon ministère, on s'attelle à régler le problème de migration illégale, et je dois vous dire que depuis le début de cette année, selon les chiffres qui nous ont été remis par le Passport of Immigration Office, déjà plus de 3 000 sur les 6 000 travailleurs étrangers ont déjà quitté le pays. Donc, il y a une amélioration. On n'est pas encore là où on veut l'être, mais il y a déjà une amélioration dans le combat contre les travailleurs étrangers illégaux dans le pays. Madame la Présidente, on a un problème de chômage parmi les jeunes de 18 à 24 ans, de 16 à 24 ans. Le taux de chômage dans cette tranche d'âge est à 17%, alors que le taux de chômage général est de 6%. À la base, on retrouve une nouvelle génération qui a d'autres inspirations. C'est une génération qui veut un équilibre entre le travail et le loisir. Une génération qui sont attirés par les secteurs portuaires, mais veulent aussi avoir le temps libre pour s'adonner à leurs activités. Et nous, il nous faut répondre à cet appel de ces jeunes, parce que si on ne le fait pas, ces jeunes vont nous quitter. On a déjà un gros souci de brain drain à Maurice. Donc à la base, on a un problème de mismatch. On a beaucoup d'étudiants, beaucoup de jeunes qui sortent de l'université avec des qualifications, ou sortent de l'école avec des qualifications, et il n'y a pas des emplois pour ce type de qualification. Par contre, on a beaucoup d'emplois, mais il n'y a pas de jeunes qui sont intéressés pour prendre ces emplois. Donc, on travaille, mon ministère travaille avec le ministère de l'Éducation et Ressources humaines pour développer des trainings, skilling, mais aussi reskilling, parce que c'est quelque chose qui est permanent, pour pouvoir améliorer l'embauche de ces jeunes. Madame la Présidente, avec nos collègues de résistance et alternative, on s'est présenté à l'électorat, devant l'électorat, avec un programme électoral pour améliorer les conditions de travail des travailleurs. Et durant notre mandat, on compte implémenter toutes les mesures qu'on a mises dans notre programme électoral concernant l'amélioration des conditions de travail des travailleurs à Maurice. Parce que ici au gouvernement, Madame la Présidente, on croit fermement qu'un travailleur heureux, c'est un travailleur productif. Et un travailleur productif, c'est un travailleur profitable pour l'entreprise. On veut casser les barrières. Il n'y a plus eux contre nous. Il n'y a plus le patronat contre les travailleurs. Il faut travailler en unisson. Il faut remplacer la confrontation par la collaboration, par le dialogue. La tripartite, je suis content que dans le discours programme, il est dit, et je cite, « Government will restore and strengthen the dialogue with civil society, trade unions and private sector on development issues ». Le tripartisme, Madame la Présidente, ne doit pas se limiter à la révision de la compensation salariale et des réunions une fois tous les ans. Il faut avoir un dialogue continu entre le secteur privé, les travailleurs et le gouvernement dans tout ce qui touche le droit des travailleurs, dans tous les enjeux importants qui concernent les travailleurs. Et là, je tiens à rendre hommage aux syndicalistes qui font un très bon travail en défendant la cause des travailleurs, des fois un peu trop. Certains essaient un peu d'excès de zèle, mais by and large, ils font un très bon travail. Madame la Présidente, il y a plusieurs mesures dans notre programme électoral pour améliorer les conditions de travail des travailleurs, notamment la semaine des 40 heures, congé parental, instaurer des comités disciplinaires indépendants, mais aussi quelque chose qui me tient beaucoup à cœur, la santé mentale des travailleurs, le burn-out. S'assurer que tous les travailleurs n'ont pas seulement un encadrement physique, mais aussi ils ont un suivi psychologique. Et c'est pourquoi on va avoir cette année les assises du travail pour pouvoir développer tout un chantier dans le dialogue. Nous allons aussi pas oublier le secteur informel qui emploie un grand nombre de travailleurs, qui malheureusement, les gens qui sont dans les secteurs informels, les self-employed, ils ne touchent pas un salaire minimum. Donc, mon ministère, on est en train de travailler sur un taux horaire minimum. C'est-à-dire que même si vous êtes une employée de maison, même si vous travaillez 2 heures, 3 heures par jour dans une maison d'un particulier, vous avez un revenu minimum. Même si vous êtes un maçon, un électricien, que vous êtes payé le jour on vous donne au moins un minimum qui va garantir une vie décente, un taux décent. Madame la Présidente, fini les grands discours, l'heure est à l'action. Notre peuple admirable, l'heure est de retrousser nos manches, travailler et faire de notre île Maurice cette île Maurice plus juste, plus démocratique, plus écologique et plus prospère. Merci.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me first of all congratulate you and the Deputy Speaker for your election in your respective positions. I thank the people of Mauritius for having voted us to this Parliament, 60-0. I personally did not expect, but it happened. I congratulate all members for their elections. With each passing session, we discover many new and young talents, and that can only be good. I thank the Almighty God for my being here. I thank the Honourable Prime Minister, Dr. Navin Chandaramgulam, for his trust in 2014, 2019 and 2024. I thank him again and other leaders of the Alliance de Changement for agreeing to his proposition for my being a minister. I thank the people of Number 2 for their support over the last 10 years. Madam Speaker, the government program 2025-2029 stems from the manifesto of the Alliance de Changement, for which myself and the Honourable Ajay Ganesh were tasked to co-chair its preparation. We've worked for 7 months, and we've come with quite a solid document. And initially, we were meeting at my place in Eben, and then when the group became larger, I have to thank all members who have participated and all people who have contributed. We have to move to my friend's house, Dr. Arvind Sunaran in Eben, where almost all the meetings were conducted. So the people who contributed in one way or the other will recognize themselves, and I thank them for their contribution. That program, A Bridge to the Future, has the following line for my sector, the land transport. A modern and efficient transport infrastructure will be particularly vital. And it is through these 2 words that I'm going to look at the 2 companies and the 2 regulatory bodies that falls under my ministry, the 2 companies being the National Transport Corporation and the Metro Express Limited, and the 2 regulatory bodies being the National Land Transport Authority and the Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit. It is a very technical ministry. All the entities that I've just mentioned are headed by civil engineers, like myself, save for the NTC, who were headed by a mechanical engineer, Mr. Rao Rama, but he's no longer there, and he's facing some issues at the FCC right now. And I have to tell you, Madam Speaker, that the NTC is a very important company. It commutes about 140,000 people per day, and it has about 500 buses. Would you believe me if I tell you that 100 of these 500 buses have more than 1 million kilometers at the odometer? And if you take that, and if you couple that with over the last 10 years, fake spare parts have been bought as new spare parts, it makes a very chaotic situation. That is why today, most of our buses at the NTC remains at the depot. Those who know the sector will know spare parts, the camshaft, Zaub, my friend explained to me in great length, Mr. Jagannath, were bought at 25,000 rupees and were chopped as being genuine parts and were sold to the NTC for 180,000 rupees. Am I right? So this is most scandalous. And I'm very surprised that a mechanical engineer was at the head. He graduated from mechanical engineering. And today we are facing a lot of issues. So a lot of my colleagues talk about CNT buses to me. Unfortunately, I can do whatever I can only. And I have to here thank with the permission of the Honourable Prime Minister, the Government of India, who will this year, during the course of this year, donate to us 100 electric buses, which will replace at least the 100 buses. This will provide much relief to us and a diversification of the fleet to electric buses. We are recruiting currently a general manager through an open advertising process, unlike what was done by the previous government. The Metro Express Limited, Madam Speaker, is a project of the Labour Party. I remember the Prime Minister filed a mission in September 2010 in Singapore, where he visited the metro system. I remember it well because you visited my university as well, the Nanyang Technological University. So since then, we've kept a keen eye. Honorable Bechu was Minister of Public Infrastructure. In the Maurice Durab Policy Strategy and Action Plan, it is listed that the mass transit system is a means of sustainable public transport. But then when came election of 2014, it became a slogan of the Alliance Lepet. They said, Metro, no. Flyovers, yes, sa ni Rujagnat, late sa ni Rujagnat. Metro out. Denovenkat said yes. So they shelved the project. I questioned the incoming minister in 2014 twice, Mr. Nando Buddha. First time, almost immediately after the election, on 24 February 2015, in PQ B84. Those who are interested can go and read that question, parliamentary question. Following persistent questioning, he maintained that the project will be shelved. Not convinced about this reply, because I believed in the project, I asked him another question 1.5 years later, on 17 May 2016, in PQ B425. And then he stood up and said, following financial facilities that is being provided by the government of India, and supposedly in line with the road decongestion program, the project will be reconsidered. So persistent questioning to them saw the project being moved from the status of being shelved to being reconsidered. So here again, we have to thank the government of India for having given us financial assistance and, of course, technical know-how. And we have a modern infrastructure today, I have to admit it. But it is the management that has a problem. I've always said, Métro, je suis d'accord sur le fond, mais pas sur la forme. The former CEO, Mr. Das Mutana, he left the job in the country in 2024. I'm told that he's an expert in risk assessment. He assessed the risk well, that he should, that he should live in the nick of time. But there are basic risks that he did not assess. Let me give 3 of them. Let me list down 3 of them. The first one is by moving the metro line from overhead to ground level. We have had 2 kinds of problems, 2 of the 3. The first one is flooding. The flooding in Saint-Jean is due to the metro. This is undeniable. Same goes for Cité-Richelieu. And the cemetery as well. And the Place d'Armes in Portruis. Undeniable. It is a fact and it is undeniable. Those who have watched the metro leaks will know what I'm talking about. The traffic jam in Vakwa, the Honorable Gavin Grover always talked to me about traffic jam in Vakwa, is because the acceleration range from Vakwa leading to Phoenix is too short. It's only 60 meters instead of 300 meters. Why? Because of the metro line. So the cars do not have enough space, distance for them to accelerate to the cruising speed on the motorway. It's as simple as that. And the poor design system of the Metro Express. In which country have anyone seen someone goes into a metro station and there in front of the door of the metro station, he decides whether he wants to pay or not? Only in Mauritius. So, and not me, it is the staff that they've been employing themselves who tells me that 4,000 to 5,000 people do not pay their ticket. Massive fare evasion. And when I took office, I said this has to stop. because we have a modern infrastructure, we cannot allow people not to pay. And then now you see on social media the amount of revolt and being physical as well to the inspectors and the guards, because when they don't pay, I ask them to check whether they are paying, and this is what we get. But then it is some teething problem. It will fall in place in due course, because we have to reduce this fair massive evasion. So Metro, as we know, has a yearly deficit of 300 million rupees, and having people to pay will go a long way in reducing that deficit. You will surely concur. So a lot of things are being done to reduce that deficit. Well, I shall come up to the House in due course to explain what is it that we are doing. The first regulatory body that comes under me is a National Land Transport Authority. It is a very important revenue collection department. It is responsible for all vehicles on our roads. And we have quite a number of them these days, I must tell you. Last year, it went to 710,065. A record 34,000 of 164 vehicles were purchased last year, representing 5.05% increase in the fleet. This is almost a current trend. So today, we have to ask the question whether this is sustainable or not. Well, because of this, there's a lot of problems. Traffic jam is one of them. I said in an interview the other day that the Sarge Bridge is the cause of traffic jam at the entrance of Port Reitz. I did not plug this from my head. I had asked the drone to be flown, and you can see in the morning at peak time, bumper-to-bumper traffic coming from the west onto the motorway. So where does this go? It goes into the motorway and it causes a traffic jam. It may be a good facility for the people living in the West Coast, but a man has to say what a man has to say. It causes traffic jam at the entrance of Port Reitz. A woman as well, Madam. I saw your reaction. We have to say what we have to say. So, your reaction puzzles me a little bit. It's okay. You know that because when this was on social media, there was a lot of people saying that I'm saying this because the bridge has been constructed by the MSM. But it is a fact, and it is undeniable. So NLTA is also responsible for taxis, public service vehicle, road service licenses, carriers licenses, contract car licenses, and we see very long queues. And now there are two things that we are doing, is decentralization, and my colleague, the Honorable Wuchit, we effected a site visit at the Victoria Urban Terminal on the second floor, where the Municipal City Council of Port Reitz is not able to pay the dues to the terminal because most of the street vendors have vacated that space. We will be moving the NLTA there, maybe. I hope everything goes on well. And we are going for big-time computerization because without this, my friend, the Honorable Ramtuhal knows what I'm talking about. NLTA desperately needs computerization because of the amount of services that it offers. There are 3 fitness centers, and NLTA is responsible for the payment of some 2.5 billion rupees of subsidies and allowances to bus companies. And I have mentioned it before in reply to a question from the Honorable Ramdas, that there is big-time abuse in the system, and we are going for the fleet management system in order to make sure that the 2,000 buses island-wide who are responsible to commute some 465,000 passengers daily, they work for their money, they give the service, but then, like I said also in Parliament, there are challenges being faced by the sector, and I said it the other day, drivers, not for the NTC, but for other bus companies, there are a lot of people to recruit drivers. And my friend, Mr. Resautim, and we discussed it also, we need to have to resort to perhaps foreign workers more and more for driving purposes. And I have to tell them, because there has been a lot of question, we are working on the 14-month bonus for the big companies as well. The Traffic Management and Road Safety Unit is responsible for traffic management and road safety. Thank you. The Prime Minister chaired the task force for Mahashivratri. Taking the lead from what he said, we amended the law, the Road Traffic Act, which falls under my ministry, to limit the size of object structures during procession for the Kanwal, for the Gund, and for the Radon, Chariot Radon. And I had even had sketches drawn in order to facilitate devotees. There might have been some teething problem this year, but I'm sure next year it will be even smoother. But fortunately, no casualties this year when we compare to what we have the last previous 2 years. So the reckless driver from Dépinay is an isolated case. Je sympathise avec les victimes de la famille. The Prime Minister has mentioned about vehicle impoundment for those consuming alcohol and drug, and even having drugs in the cars. I think this is a good proposition. It will align Mauritius with best international practices, and it will significantly improve road safety going forward. Of course, they will entail revisiting the Road Traffic Act, and we will do it. I have to say that half of the 710,000 vehicles that I've mentioned earlier are motorcycles. And you know, in France, I met the Minister of Land Transport of France last week in Marrakesh. He tells me that 1 in 5 deaths on the roads there is a young who is under the influence of drug. And Mauritius, we have this tendency as well, unfortunately. And you know, Madam Speaker, a speeding automobile. Let me go further. An intoxicated driver, a fatigued driver, and even intoxicated pedestrians. Pedestrian crossing road while wearing headphones. Worn brakes. Motorcyclists not wearing proper helmets or reflective jackets. When they collide on the road, should we call this a road accident? Or should we call it an act of voluntary negligence? There is a lot of debate going on at the international level on this, and they call it not road accident, but road crashes. And this is what was discussed in Marrakesh last week, where I was, for the 4th Interim Ministerial Conference on Road Safety. I have to thank the Deputy Prime Minister. During my absence, he took the lead and talked to my officers about the Takata, which is a brand of airbags, and we are looking into it now. There is a worldwide recall campaign on this. We are looking into it. You know, the 4th Interministerial Conference on Road Safety, this year's title was Commit to Life, because there are 1.2 million people who lose life daily on the roads worldwide. I had a working session with Mr. Jean Todt, who is the UN Secretary General's envoy on road safety. I even invited him to be in Mauritius for the Road Safety Week in May. Notwithstanding his international commitment, he has agreed to consider. And him coming here will give us a modern outlook on the issues of road safety. Just to tell you, I'm told there are 2 minutes, there are a lot of things to be said. We are 1.9, according to his book, which is titled The Silent Pandemic on the Road. 9.7 people in Mauritius loses life out of 100,000 every year. In Korea, it is 42.7. In Singapore, it is 1.9. We have a long way to go to be like Singapore. A country which has the system de permis à points in the 1990s, the Honorable Rizal-Tim will recall we were there at the material time together, and it has worked. So it has stood the test of time, and we will implement the same mechanism again, which the MSM government did away with in 2014 as an electoral promise. I said it before, road safety was an electoral promise for the MSM government. So there are a lot of propositions. because time. And the graduated licensing scheme will be a modern way to look at it as well for more road safety. And there will be more sessions. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger just says, I will be back. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sure you will, Honourable Minister. Don't read too much on my facial expressions. Okay, now we have the Deputy Whip.
Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to address this August Assembly today. And I would like also to thank the leaders of the l'Alliance du Changement, the Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Navin Ramgoolam, and the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Béranger, leader of the MMM, for giving me the opportunity to stand as candidate in the last general election. I will also, once again, thank the electors of my constituency who voted massively for the three candidates of l'Alliance du Changement. Me and my two colleagues here have done an exceptional campaign to vaincre le roi du soleil dans son propre fief. I remember somebody told me, if you get 3-0 in number 8, the result will be 60-0. And we are proud to be part of it today. Madam Speaker, the ousting of the MSM government was a result of a ras-le-bol of the Mauritian population, a population that was fed up with corruption and at all levels of most institutions of the country. A population facing severe cost of living difficulties and a government which could not care less. Having said that, we were voted massively not only because of the lack of trust in the MSM government, but also because of the program that has been presented to the population by the l'Alliance du Changement. It is a program for massive changes, but more importantly, for the cleansing of those corrupted institutions, to redress the state of our democracy in our country, and to give back to our people the dignity they deserve. Yes, we should strive for unity of all our fellow citizens at all times. We cannot and should not continue with the same old modus operandi of the MSM government, and changes are mandatory. Madam Speaker, the recent change to the FCC Act is a strong signal sent to everybody. Our Constitution should not be tinkered with, and this institution must be allowed to work independently without fear or interference. The DPP has regained the rightful powers it is meant to have according to the Constitution. The presidential program sets out clear changes envisaged to our electoral system, which aims an equivocal, free and fair election in our country. We have seen how money politics can cause serious damage, and it is primordial that measures are to be taken to address the issue of political financing in our country. Depriving our citizens of the right to vote in the municipal and village council election is a serious affront to our democratic values. The repeated delays in the local election through simple tinkering with the Local Government Act are deeply concerning. It is essential that we restore those fundamental rights. As previously announced, the municipal council election will be held after a decade, which highlights the regrettable way our citizens have been denied their rightful participation in the local democracy. Madam Speaker, after 10 years of massive corruption, 10 years of neglect, provide adequate services to our people, we stand here today to serve and not to be served. It's time to restore our citizens their rights and ensure that they receive what they are truly owed. Madam Speaker, I must draw your attention to the alarming state of our towns and villages. You will recall how our municipal council were once efficiently managed back in the days. It was safe to walk in the street of Rosehill, Port Louis, and other cities at any time of the day. But can we do the same today? Can we walk the street with same freedom and security? We are increasingly witnessing troubling activities in our streets, such as drug-related incidents and unsafe behaviors. Our villages will continue to face challenges with inconsistent public services, including erratic waste collection, unreliable water supply, poorly lit side roads, a lack of essential leisure facilities. Our citizens are especially impacted, as many have little to do beyond spending their days in isolation. I trust that the revamped local government legislation will make concrete steps to address these pressing issues and deliver the improvements our citizens rightfully deserve. Madam Speaker, I represent a constituency which is unfortunately in a neglected condition. As I mentioned earlier, neglect has been a major issue here. But is it not disgraceful that my constituency, Mockery Militaire, once the constituency of a former prime minister and 2 other ministers, has been left in such a condition for years? Is it not shameful that people have been for years deprived of reliable and clean water supply? For now, we understand it is a drought period, but let us not forget that in 2014, they promised 24/7 water supply. Instead, we have witnessed 24 sec. Lots of promises to remedy the same, but those who know the constituency, some of the works which have been attempted to provide water supply in regions such as Nouvelle Découverte, L'Agrément Saint-Pierre, Bonneveine, the works were substandard, and all these has cost a lot of taxpayers' money. I have mentioned 3 areas of my constituency, but this reflects the broader situation across the country. Madam Speaker, it is all very nice to have large highways and metro, but have they truly considered the state of the minor roads and small village roads, riddled with potholes in the constituency of the former Prime Minister for so many years? These roads are poorly lit and poorly maintained. As for land drainage, it is shameful to witness the deplorable condition of drain across the constituency. In some areas, where efforts are made to install drain system, either there were no inlet or no outlet, resulting in a serious waterlogging and other associated issues. This is despite the huge sum of money that have been wasted, leaving the situation unchanged. Madam Speaker, we have witnessed a culture of neglect and gaspillage. In fact, it was a direct result of culture of nepotism and cronyism. Contracts were awarded left, right, and center to petits copains and so-called chatois. The works carried out were shoddy and haphazard, the end game being that our citizens pay the heavy price. Madam Speaker, I'm told that we spent billions of rupees on roads and other infrastructure, yet in many areas, people are facing serious difficulties to travel by public transport to go to work, school, hospital, or wherever. In fact, there was no holistic planning. In the meantime, le petit peuple souffre toujours. I will take an example of one of the failure of the MSM government. There were a lot of chest beating about the Dagotier NSLD housing project, namely the Résidence Lavande in my constituency, where 600 houses have been built to accommodate around 2,500 people. However, these houses lack basic waterproofing, and as a result, they are in a deplorable condition, with water leakage inside, even when it is not raining. As for ancillary services provided to the resident, absolutely zero. Madam Speaker, a roof for each family is not a privilege, but a fundamental social right. Our citizens made a lot of sacrifice to save money in order to be eligible to buy those houses, and they deserve a better quality of life and all basic amenities. No action were taken for provision of adequate water supply, public transport facilities, maintenance of leisure facilities there as part of this project. This is yet another example of failure of the MSM government. Now we have no other option.
Don't disturb the member, please. He's got 1 minute to go.
Now we have no other options than to address and remedy the situation urgently. Madam Speaker, we had a Minister of Education in the Constituency number 8 from 2014 to 2024. Lila parla tout pareil. Apart from this malgestion of the education system, had the former minister seen the state of those pre-primary and primary government schools? Absolutely poor sanitation. I'm shocked about the despicable and disgusting state of some of schools. To expose our children to such hazard is utterly unacceptable. In some schools, I visited main water tank was not connected even to the CWA line, resulting in a disruption of water supply during the day, which affects mainly the washrooms. And let us even not mention the lack of basic facilities in the classroom. Madam Speaker, the present government...
He's buying time.
The present government...
Half a minute.
2025, 2029, I will conclude, Madam Speaker, speaks for the future with action plan across various sectors. In the health sector, for instance, we foresee a focus on the digitalization of patient records and procurement control. We saw what happened to the procurement during the COVID pandemic. We also applaud action being taken by our government to really tackle the drug scourge, especially among our youth. Madam Speaker, with the leadership at the heart and the helm of our government, the Prime Minister, Dr. Honorable Navin Rambulan, and the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Paul Béranger, and the team surrounding them, we can look forward to remedial action that are being taken, will be taken, and must be taken to address the distress and neglect that the population has endured under the MSM government. The population has entrusted this government to bring positive changes, and we will not fail. This is the essence of the presidential speech. While the task to redress the remedy may have been delayed, we stand ready and committed to fulfill our duties. We are here to serve the population, to act on their behalf, and to bring the changes they rightfully deserve. Madam Speaker, the population has spoken loudly and clearly. We are here to honor their trust by delivering on their expectation. Together we move forward with purpose and dedication to make meaningfully difference for our citizens. A vote of thanks to you, Madam Speaker, for the solemnity and dignified manner this assembly is being chaired, a marked difference to the pandemonium that reigned recently. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Attorney General.
Madam Speaker, at the end of a long day, I do address this Assembly today on the government programme with some trepidation, but also with a deep sense of humility and honour. Humility because I am the only non-elected member of this Assembly, the position that implies a certain degree of reserve and independence. It is not my place to engage in partisan politics or debates, nor to comment on policy decisions that the democratically elected government has decided to pursue. Honour, because I stand here as the Chief Legal Advisor of Government entrusted with a unique role, one which carries two core duties. First, the protection of the rule of law and the foundations of our democracy, and second, the collective responsibility of the Cabinet, of which I am a member. In reconciling these two responsibilities lies my challenge and my mission. Madam Speaker, let me be very clear. Independence does not mean neutrality or passivity. I did not accept this role to rubber stamp any legislative agenda, especially if that agenda would erode our constitutional order, as it was never my ambition to be in government at all costs. And I must say that I had my share of hesitations before accepting this role. Why then did I accept it? Madam Speaker, I'm here because the values instilled in me by my parents, particularly my late father, former Chief Justice Sir Victor Glover, mean that any privilege, knowledge, comfort, or capacity I may possess must always, always be at the service of the public good. My experience as a litigation lawyer for, shy of 4 decades now, has taught me how our legal system works and how laws can be used to strengthen our democracy or to undermine it. And my observations, especially over the last decade, made it clear to me, most unfortunately I may add, in which direction our country was heading. Il ne faisait donc aucun doute, Madame la Présidente, que la démocratie foutait le camp. La désillusion de tout un peuple était palpable. Il fallait donc tout mettre de côté pour se mettre au service de la nation. Je suis fier de l'avoir fait et je suis confiant qu'avec l'apport de mes collègues ici présents et le leadership actuel, nous pourrons redresser la barre. Madam Speaker, I could only accept that mission if I was convinced that the Prime Minister and his team were really serious about restoring the rule of law, improving public confidence in our justice system, and furthering the ideals of our democracy. Madam Speaker, this government programme proposes to do exactly that. Over recent years, respect for the rule of law has been challenged, judicial independence has been tested, our citizens' rights have been trampled, and the perception that justice was becoming secondary to political convenience has shaken public trust. That chapter had to end. The people of Mauritius have demanded a return to fairness, legal certainty, and above all, the independence of the institutions, which are the principles that have long guided this nation, and, Madam Speaker, we will deliver. The government programme lays out a clear, unwavering direction and vision to do so in 3 steps, and I will now canvass these in turn. 1 is restoring the rule of law and the independence of our institutions. 2nd is making justice more efficient and accessible to all. And thirdly, it is the review of our constitution and legal framework to reinforce our democracy. Madam Speaker, there is no hiding. It is indeed a tall order. However, I am convinced that we have the capacity to hand over to the future generations a better system, one with which they will identify and which will become the backbone of the new Mauritius, forging ahead and providing the all-important foundations for the continuity of our democracy, having now kicked away the shackles of autocracy. Madam Speaker, no one can dispute the fact that the rule of law is the cornerstone of a functioning democracy. If the law is not applied equally, then justice is nothing more than an illusion. Our independent institutions must never be subordinated to political will, nor should they be pressurized into decisions that do not align with principles of law. This government is taking decisive steps to restore the independence and integrity of key institutions. A major move will be the repeal of the Financial Crimes Commission Act and the establishment of a new crime agency, a new national crime agency, an independent investigative body better equipped to tackle financial and serious crimes. Make no mistake, corruption is corruption, and no crime should go unpunished. But there is a clear difference between a case of a 500 rupee bribe involving a public officer, which can be under the purview of the police, and that of a multi-million money laundering scheme which necessitates technical expertise and specialized forensic means. This is what the new agency will do. As the Prime Minister announced in this House, we will take the time we need to craft the proper framework, recruit the best talent, and provide the necessary tools for its success. Crucially, this agency will not encroach upon the prosecutorial powers of the Director of Public Prosecutions, who remains constitutionally responsible for all prosecutions. Pending this reform, the FCC Act has recently been amended already to remove the FCC's Director General's powers to prosecute without the DPP's consent. Our aim is to rectify the previous erosion of the DPP's prerogatives, and the government is currently examining further ways to reinforce his prosecutorial independence, including legislating on his administrative autonomy. In the same vein, to promote clarity, I will next week be proposing amendments to this House to the Bail Act in order to do away with possible overlapping of functions and discretion. As we know, certainty in the law is absolutely essential. Madam Speaker, government is committed to reforming the police to ensure it operates independently, efficiently, and in strict accordance with the law. The Police and Criminal Evidence Bill will establish clear guidelines, clear legal guidelines on police investigations, evidence handling, and citizens' rights, balancing efficiency with accountability. Additionally, a prosecution service will be established under the aegis of the DPP, ensuring more efficient and timely prosecution of cases. Beyond criminal law enforcement, institutional integrity will be strengthened with the review of the Public Procurement Act, preventing the abuse which we have seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. Another example of the program's focus on restoring public trust in our institution is the projected reform of the gambling industry. Reviewing the workings of the Gambling Regulatory Authority is imperative. A full management and financial audit will be conducted, and legislative amendments shall ensure that the authority operates transparently and accountably, particularly in overseeing the horse racing industry. Such reforms are essentials to re-establishing democratic safeguards and reinforcing the fundamental principles of good governance. We can no longer tolerate the open favoritism which characterized the acts and doings of the GRA over the last years. The government will also take decisive action to restore the independence and credibility of our public institutions. Reforms will be introduced to strengthen the legal provisions governing the IBA, the Independent Broadcasting Authority, to ensure the independence of the MBC, the Mauritius Broadcasting Corporation, and additionally, the powers of the Equal Opportunities Commission will be reinforced, and the Public Bodies Appeal Tribunal, Madam Speaker, will be given broader jurisdiction to address all disputes related to public sector recruitment and promotions. Madam Speaker, my advice to government will be more proactive when it comes to the reform of the judicial system announced in the government program. I have recently traveled to Singapore to meet with the country's Chief Justice, their Deputy Minister of Law, and 3 of their 4 Deputy Attorneys General. Our discussions focus on those insights from the Singaporean experience which may help our own efforts to review the structure and operations of our judiciary. Today, the stellar reputation of Singapore's justice system is well deserved, but as my interlocutors explain, quite a few of the problems we face locally today were rampant there in the 1990s, from inordinate delay to lack of accountability, from inefficiency to inaccessibility. Both our countries have inherited colonial systems which tend to crumble under their own weight as societies and economies change. However, as Singapore shows, solutions exist when there is a political resolve. And Madam Speaker, there is political resolve. We will reform and we will aim to do so with the full involvement and cooperation of all stakeholders. But my advice to the government will be, although consensus is by far preferable, it is not a requirement. We cannot afford paralysis on account of indecision or special interests. This democratically elected government has a mandate for sweeping change, and that can only include our justice system. As announced in the government program, the constitutional and statutory framework will be reviewed to establish a superior court of appeal. This was recommended by the Mockery report in 1998, and it is high time, Madam Speaker, that it is done. It is not convenient for the proper administration of justice, which as we all know must not only be done but be seen to be done, that the same set of judges of the Supreme Court successively sit on appeal of each other's judgments in the first instance. This is quite simply unsustainable. This new Court of Appeal, which shall be distinct from the Supreme Court in its composition and location, will have internationally recognized foreign judges sitting next to the most experienced Mauritian specialists. We have at least 2 well-known foreign judges that have already signified their agreement to join this Court of Appeal. It will set the standard for the whole of our judicial system and be a beacon of trust for international investors and partners. The right of appeal to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, to which our law practitioners and our citizens remain attached, and for good reason too, will remain. But it will be reserved only for questions of great general public importance, including constitutional and electoral matters. This change will relieve pressure on the existing judicial structure and reduce delays and costs in appellate matters. The Supreme Court will benefit from this change and will be provided with more means, both material and procedural, in order to gain efficiency. An international commercial court, to the image of what exists in Singapore and Bahrain, will be set up as a specialized division of the Supreme Court. It will provide a stable, efficient dispute resolution mechanism for the business community and reinforce Mauritius as a jurisdiction governed by fairness and predictability. In parallel, the Police and Criminal Justice Bill will come to modernize our criminal justice system and framework, ensuring that law enforcement and judicial process function cohesively and effectively. In the coming weeks, the Court of Criminal Appeal Amendment Bill will come to simplify procedures for appeals in criminal matters, improving access to justice. Similarly, the Judicial Review Bill will come to harmonize and streamline judicial review proceedings, removing unnecessary complexities and delays. All these proposals of the government program aim at addressing the 3 main concerns of our system: independence, efficiency, and accessibility. Madam Speaker, judicial independence now must go hand in hand with accountability. Justice that is inaccessible to the common citizen or delayed without reasonable justification is no justice at all. A key problem that we have today is the backlog of cases and the prolonged wait for judgments. For too many years, there has been a festering of frustration of individuals and businesses alike, left in limbo due to procedural inefficiencies. We must ensure that the courts deliver timely and effective justice. To this end, structured case management reforms will be introduced to improve judicial efficiency. Key performance indicators may well have to be introduced to ensure that judgments are delivered within reasonable time frames. Legislative measures will be explored to introduce reporting obligations on case backlogs, as well as mechanisms for performance assessments that do not infringe, however, on judicial independence. In addition, digital transformation of court processes will be implemented to modernize the judiciary. Legal reform is not, Madam Speaker, about interference. It is about making justice work better for those who depend on it, i.e., the citizens of this land. To that end, the resolve of government, just highlighted, must be matched by the willingness of the judiciary to follow suit. Madam Speaker, I have said it before, but it bears repetition, doesn't it? A just society requires an accessible legal system. Justice should not be a privilege for the few, but a right for all. For too many Mauritians, legal proceedings are prohibitively expensive, time-consuming, and complex. That must change. To address this, Madam Speaker, legal aid services will be reviewed, ensuring that those at the bottom end of the ladder have access to competent legal representation. Madam Speaker, our democracy, once considered a model on the global stage, has in recent years suffered setbacks due to the weakening of our institutions and governance. This government is determined to reverse that trend. With almost 6 decades of experience since independence under our belt, it is now time for a thorough review of our aging constitution, and this in line with contemporary democratic standards, and this with the expectations of our citizens waiting for this momentous time. Indeed, Mauritians do not need to know the legal definitions of texts to know when something is an unacceptable abuse of their rights. The government program has announced the setting up of a Constitutional Review Commission within 6 months to make recommendations on constitution and electoral reforms, as well as enhanced protection of fundamental rights. This commission will examine key issues, including the establishment of an electoral college to broaden the mandate of the President of the Republic, the protection of local government elections, and amendments to Chapter 2 of the Constitution to better protect fundamental rights. These amendments, Madam Speaker, will include new generation rights, covering the environment, technology, health, education, and other socio-economic rights recognized under international treaties, as well as rights of nature. Furthermore, our Constitution will be amended to consecrate the core values of peace, justice, and liberty, values which we proudly vow to uphold in our national anthem. Madam Speaker, our electoral system must also evolve to reflect the will of the people. The Constitutional Review Commission will consider reforms such as introducing a measure of proportional representation, increasing women's representation in Parliament, and allowing for the recall of members of Parliament under specific circumstances. To promote transparency, legislation on political party funding will be enacted, ensuring accountability in campaign financing. To safeguard the rights of the citizen and the basic freedoms, a constitutional division of the Supreme Court will be established for the prompt adjudication of constitutional law matters, and this will undoubtedly further strengthen access to justice. Madam Speaker, my time is almost up. So let me wind up. This government is committed to protecting the privacy of our citizens. It has already revoked the regulations on SIM card registration and erased the database collected. Going further, the Constitutional Reform Commission will examine proposals to strengthen the right to privacy and introduce legislation to ensure that any covert surveillance is strictly limited to crime prevention, terrorism, and national security. I shall not, Madam Speaker, at this stage give further details regarding the possible constitutional changes, for the Commission will have choices to make, difficult decisions, difficult questions to tackle, and we shall respect its work. I can only say that such a mandate for comprehensive reforms is precisely what can deepen our democratic ideals. This programme, Madam Speaker, is a roadmap to ensuring that Mauritius remains a nation governed by justice, fairness, and the rule of law. Through these bold and decisive measures, we can restore trust in our institutions, uphold fundamental rights, and lay the foundation for governance that truly reflects the aspirations of the people. This is the path to a stronger, more inclusive, and truly democratic nation. Mauritius, Madam Speaker, deserves no less. And with these words, Madam Speaker, I thank you and commend this government programme to the House.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General. Honourable Second Member for Bobassa-Petite-Rivière.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move for the adjournment of the debate.
Yes. The question is that the debate be now adjourned. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move for the adjournment of the House to Tuesday, the 4th of March at 11:30 a.m.
Motion seconded. Thank you. The House stands adjourned. Yes, because it's Tuesday, so it's Tuesday. Il faut dire. C'est bon, c'est bon. House stands adjourned. Personne pas vous causer.